Welcome back to the Papa Shronos podcast. We are here to talk MMA, UFC 302, as well as touching on the brand new UFC gloves. And Nick Diaz returns to the octagon. So excited to talk some MMA. Haven't done that on the channel recently and not consistently. So trying to get more consistent with talking baseball and MMA, as well as obviously as heavily focused on the Chiefs here on the podcast and the YouTube channel. So just be on the lookout for more content, and let me hear if you enjoy these episodes that are not Chiefs related or football related. Let me hear if you like that baseball podcast, as well as right here talking MMA today. And we got Ray joining the show today again as well, which is awesome. I really appreciate it. So again, talking MMA today, and this podcast, of course, wherever you get your podcast, check it out at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoy, especially if you enjoy these other podcasts. Get me to do them more. Smash that like button so I know that you guys are enjoying the content. And again, well, I guess not again, because I'm going to drop this before the Wanya Morris film review is on the way. And we're trying to get to 100 subscribers before the new season starts. So help your boy Papa Show out a little bit. We're at 77 currently and trying to smash into the triple digits, hitting 100 subscribers by the start of the new season. Let's get that goal by preseason. So I know we can do it. Chiefs Kingdom, all my MMA fans and baseball fans out there as well. Like I said, if you're enjoying the content, just hit that subscribe. I know there's plenty of unsubscribed people watching the pod, watching the film reviews, all that good stuff. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's just get into the conversation that me and Ray had. All right, now we welcome back to the show Ray, rejoining the Papa Shronos podcast to talk MMA. And I just gotta say, this man is a legend for this right now, because I just hit him up like 10 minutes ago and was like, yo, you trying to hop on and talk a little bit of UFC? And man's just hopped right on. So welcome back, Ray.
Appreciate it, man. You know what I'm saying? I was called. I answered.
That's a fact. That man answered the call, answered the bell. Man got up and said, let's go. But just jumping straight into UFC 302 is kind of the main thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, just with the way, what got me excited to even talk MMA, because I haven't really talked MMA on the pod much. There's been a couple episodes, but I haven't really dove into it too much. And Dustin Poirier, though, looks like he's coming in with a totally different mindset than he's had in his really like last previous fights. It was real buddy buddy with Justin Gaethje, and even with Khabib on the other title shot. And I guess it was Max Holloway, wasn't it? Because this is his third title shot now.
Yeah, because I would say he got the interim title when he fought Max, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and like there's always been a level of almost too much respect with his opponents,
Yes. Yeah,
and
I completely agree.
this go around, no, like I think he wants to see his one. He he wants the title, and I know that sounds like super cliche, but you know,
Right. And even just looking at the odds right now, Makhachev at the time of recording is a minus 625 favorite, while Poirier is plus 450. That's kind of disrespectful.
I'll tell between that, and I'm not gonna lie, the DJ in me is itching to just throw a quick little $10.
Bro, I feel you, because Jesus Christ, that's
them,
insane.
them some wild odds. Them
That's
some wild odds.
disrespectful. No, those are, because I mean, I get it, but Makhachev is not Khabib, at least not yet. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see him in that same light. Khabib almost felt like he was unbeatable. And Makhachev, I mean, we kind of saw some chinks in the armor with Volkanovski.
Oh yeah, it was like the first Volk fight because boy that second was a surprise. I'll say,
Yeah. Yeah, and I
but
think Volk really hurt him coming in, taking that fight last second.
yeah, I think that's what really like kind of sealed the deal for Volk. But
Yeah.
uh yeah, like there's not this, and man, I'm so corny for using this. There's no aura of like invincibility around Islam. Like he seems like a really good fighter. He doesn't strike me as great, if that makes sense.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, at least not to this point, right? He has that potential, but it's not like we've seen that like you said, aura of invincibility. It's like the great runs of fighters like Khabib. We were just kind of talking about Connor before we jumped on here, and his run around 2016, and just the thought of that man can't be beat. Anderson Silva, the late 2000s, early 2010s. That man couldn't be beat. GSP. I mean, even even I feel like Usman to a point, like during his title run too, where it just felt like, who can stop this man?
Usman, or I mean, on a more infamous note, like Johnny Bones. Like we watched the dude beat him up for 2.5 rounds just for him to storm back and still, secure a win. I don't think I've seen this out of Islam. I'm not going to act like I've just really studied this guy's career, but also the simple fact that what he has two losses on his record, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you might be right.
Because was it? I swear, I feel like he lost to what's the dude's name? Who's the dude that just knocks off like a bunch of the challengers? Dariush.
Oh, that man Dariush, what a fascinating fighter, man.
Bro, that dude's career. I like in some ways, some days I actually feel bad for
Okay, I don't think
him.
he ever fought Dariush.
No,
Looking at his
okay.
record, he did lose UFC 192. That was in 2015, his only loss. So he only has the one loss. It
Okay.
was his second fight against Adriano Martins. So, and he got knocked out. That was a first round knockout.
Mm.
I always love reading, just finishes the fights because it just says KO and in
So
parentheses
punch,
punch.
bro,
That's great. Like
bro.
you could just see it in your head,
Yeah,
like
bro.
punch.
Because it was probably just like a mean overhand left. He just
Facts.
didn't see it.
And I
Always.
always immediately think of UFC Undisputed 3. Like I just always see the video game version of a knockout in my head, like immediately. So yeah, I mean, so he's obviously susceptible. He can be knocked out. We have seen that. And now I'm in the camp that thought he did win that fight against Volk, the first fight. Personally, just rewatching it a few times. And I don't know, but it's still, I just don't think that he's 100% invincible. And Poirier going in with just the mentality it seems like he has. I mean, to put it lightly, that's a bad man right there. Like we have seen that man in some fight, the fight against Max. I mean, he absolutely put it on Max. I don't think that we had really ever seen that other than the Volk fight. Was that the third Volk fight where Volk really just had,
Yeah,
Max's number?
where he ended up finishing Max, and what was that like
Mhm.
the fourth round? I want to say
Yeah.
it was
And just
it was a
every time
later
he
finish.
hit him, it just like you felt it.
Yeah, yeah. Because what it almost kind of reminded me of when what's his name? When Tony Ferguson when he fought Gaethje,
Yeah.
and it just seemed like those punches you just seen them just adding up, and it's just like God, those are years taking off my man's life over there.
No, that's a big
Oh,
fact. Yeah. And
just as a fan, just stressed out, like, oh God, not my guy.
for real, that's always tough to watch when you're just watching one of your favorites just take a beating in the cage.
And it's like,
But
oh man, you're too tough for your own good.
man, that's a fact. I know, yeah, some dudes are just it's like, man, I wouldn't even just go down to a knee and say I'm done. This is over because you are
Like,
not
yeah,
no shame in it.
no shame in the
No
body,
shame
no shame.
for real. Cause sometimes you're just like, bro, you shouldn't get off that stool. It is all right.
I promise you, it is okay. Like, I won't roast you. Nobody else should roast you, but pride.
Facts. Live to fight another day.
Hmm.
So with Poirier just kind of going into a different mindset, and we kind of talked about the odds already, but I wouldn't be against putting money down on Poirier either because I just think that with the odds that it is, the level of fighter Poirier is, and I get it, the level that Makhachev is too. I totally get it, but I really am really leaning towards Poirier right now. And recording this on Friday morning, the day before the fights, I feel really pretty confident after just seeing the way, especially when they got face to face. Poirier did not back down whatsoever.
No, I would say like I said, there was a certain level of what's the word I'm looking for, like just pure confidence in himself because I
Yeah.
think he realized that over his past few title attempts, there's been too much respect for his opponent. And so, I kind of feel like that also leads to some hesitancy because, what is it? I was actually just watching Poirier versus Nurmagomedov, and Poirier, I forgot Poirier actually caught Khabib. He actually caught him, and I felt like if he had just pressed it just a bit more, probably could have secured a finish. But more props to Khabib for actually surviving that because that was a big shot he took.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch that because I haven't watched that fight in a long time. That would actually obviously be a great fight to watch, kind of getting ready for this fight, as Khabib will be in the corner of Islam Makhachev on Saturday night. So obviously there's so many similarities and um I figured I'd go ahead and make a couple predictions as we're gonna talk about the co-main too, but I'm rocking with Poirier. I'm gonna go Poirier. I don't know how he gets the job done. What would be the funniest thing though is if he got a guillotine off on Makhachev. That would maybe be the funniest outcome of winning. But I think that he ends up TKOing him. I don't know if he puts Makhachev out, but I do think that he TKOs him later in the fight, maybe. Maybe like third or fourth round, I'll say. I'll just go
I would
third.
say
We'll go baseline third. TKO, third
baseline.
round, Poirier's new champ.
What's funny is I think that would be like the funniest thing ever if he actually does pull off the gilly. But honestly, I can't see Poirier winning on points. That that just does not seem like a likely outcome. Like that is a super unlikely outcome. He has to finish. I can't say what round because it could be early, could be late. I'm going for. I'm going fourth round if he gets
Yeah, and
secures a finish.
and see, I like that too because one, I totally agree with you. Poirier is not going to win on points unless he just stuffs the takedown and outboxes him for 5 rounds, which I just don't see likely happening. Ma
Man,
Makhachev is going to end up getting a takedown at some point. And I mean, we saw Volk. Volk was able to stop his takedowns, but he also wasn't able to stop all of them. And it's just like Khabib. Just how they are with the way, they maneuver for those takedowns is just it's impossible to stop, right? Like I feel like at some point you're going to end up on the ground. Now then it just depends on how you maneuver after that. If you can get up, as long as you can, not get stuck in a bad spot, and not take too much damage is really the big part, I think, once you get taken down. But even as the fight goes on, I think the likelihood of Poirier winning kind of goes down. Because I could totally see him, at some point in the first round catch him big and, he's just going to go all out. And that's another thing that might work against Poirier because say he does catch him early in the fight and he can't actually put him out of there and then, he blows his arms out in the first round or something like that. But I think that's probably the sweet spot of like right around the third round, start to kind of figure him out. Maybe you can stuff a couple of takedowns, make him stand with you and be able to get the finish that way. But I think if we get to the fifth round, I think it's going to be hard to get a finish. But it depends on Makachev's cardio too. And I mean, Makachev has good cardio, but he also has a big cut to 55. And I mean, you can see it in his face. I mean, even at the press conference that they did, the Makachev always just looks rough. I feel like making the weight.
nah, that's a fact. Especially like with like the beard he be rocking, because be looking like Abe Lincoln to me, and it's always so funny.
I could totally see that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'll be wanting to call him Honest Islam, but I'm a chill. Uh,
Yo, if
but
he wins, that's that man's new nickname on this show.
oh,
Honest
facts, nah.
Islam. Put a stamp on it. Ray coined a new nickname out here.
So what specifically in this fight, I don't know why it just kind of like made me think you saying like, if he can stuff the takedown, kind of outbox him. It just made me think of James Toney versus Randy Couture. And I really hope Poirier been training nothing but uppercuts because if you pay attention with the way that the guys from Khabib's camp, perform their takedowns or attempt them, it's like they tend to lead with their head a lot without like protection for the head or chin. And so it just made me think like James Toney, like, yeah, this is gonna be my takedown defense. Just keep throwing, just spam uppercuts. I think that could really be an important thing because the funny part, if you watch the Poirier versus Khabib fight, it's like Khabib just like left his chin perfectly there because he'll tuck it just enough for to block a hug or a straight, right? But the uppercuts, they just look like they were there. But he also does like this kind of weird deflection thing with his arm, so it may make it a little bit more difficult to perform an uppercut. So but obviously Poirier is smarter than me when it comes to boxing and striking. So I think that either that or knees would be like his best bet.
Yeah, I could agree with you, and especially with Poirier, the way he's boxed in the last what 5 or 6 years. I feel like that Holloway fight we were kind of talking about was like the emergence of like, oh, Poirier has got some serious hands, like different than like just you see that leap sometimes in fighters where it's like you go from one fight to the next and it's like this is a completely different fighter. You obviously worked on this, outside of camp, inside of camp, getting ready for this fight. And I mean, Max is you're gonna have to box with him, right? So I'm sure he worked on that plenty during that camp. But just to see a guy go from one level to the next, or maybe even a couple levels up from where he was at, is always crazy to see. And I feel like we really saw that with Poirier and that leap. And, he's one of the best boxers in the UFC, I would argue.
Oh, yeah, like bar none. When it comes to just straight hands, I kind of feel like he's proven he's, in that conversation of like, if not top five, top three
Yeah, absolutely.
type deal.
Absolutely. So we both got Poirier winning upset Saturday night. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Co-main event is another interesting matchup, I think, with the former champ Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa, which Sean Strickland comes in as a minus 240 favorite, Paulo Costa plus 200 underdog in this fight. And I do think this is one that I also kind of believe the underdog's probably going to come out on top.
Man, I'm so torn on this one because it's not like a heavy favorite. And so like what's his name? Strickland is such a I don't know how to put it. He's a conundrum because you look at his fighting style and you're like, that totally shouldn't work, right? And then it does. And I feel like he's gonna do the same thing. And also they've been kind of jawing with each other, so I kind of feel like he has a more of a point to prove. And I've kind of learned to take faith away from Paulo Costa because, like, as entertaining as he is, and he looks like a, a physical specimen, he should be the guy, right? And then just you kind of watch, he gets like these almost performance jitters, if you will. Like it just like he just doesn't execute the way that you would imagine he should. And so I kind of feel like this would end up being uh is this a 3 or 5 round match?
I think just a 3 round fight.
Okay. Okay. I couldn't remember if co-mains were upgraded to it's only if they're title matches, right?
Not always because they have been making, co-mains 5 round fights just because I think it's more of a, when the two fighters want, like agree on that or if they want a longer fight.
Okay.
And I don't think either one of these guys would go out of their way and be like, yeah, let's make it 5 rounds. I don't think that fits Paulo Costa very well. And I don't think Sean Strickland really cares to go 5 rounds for no reason. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
dude is such a I don't I can't comprehend Sean Strickland, honestly. And like I know media day is always and sometimes I wonder if he's I mean, obviously he's playing his character. He reminds me of like just a wrestler. Like he's like an attitude era wrestler where it's like he's a wacky person, but he turned it up to 10 to really make this persona of, the Sean Strickland we know now. Because I feel like he wasn't as outlandish before his title run. And I get it. I mean, he's just probably got another level of confidence. I mean, I couldn't imagine the confidence you get from winning a world title and walking down the champion the way he did for 5 rounds. But I don't know. He's just an interesting dude. The Duplessis fight, I was kind of unsure going into. And then now coming into this fight, because I feel you about Paulo Costa. I don't put 100% stock in him just after some of the performances we've seen. And like you said, the basically the fight night jitters, and maybe that's part of it, but I just think that he's kind of a guy that doesn't meet like doesn't really back up what he can talk. Because Paulo Costa likes to talk a lot, and I don't feel like he's one of those guys that, on fight night, he's just kind of eh a lot of times.
Yeah. No, like I'm in full agreement with you. The thing, because I feel like if Paulo Costa doesn't secure a early stoppage win, this is more than likely going Strickland's way. He's just going to kind of, play like the slick boxing, kind of, pull off the whole little Philly shell thing and just kind of jab and straight the guy to death. Just a quick 1-2, just real basic type of performance. And like, I'm
You,
not going to knock the guy, but I don't know. I think they're going to make his road back to the championship more difficult than it was the first time around.
yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think that they will too. And honestly, I think you just changed my mind completely because just in my head, just visualizing kind of what you just said, I totally see that where if Costa doesn't finish him early, because Costa's cardio is always a question, I feel.
Yeah,
And I think that Sean Strickland may like lose the first round and then really start to kind of turn it on in the second and pour it on in the third. I don't think he finishes Costa. So I'm going to say Sean Strickland by split decision that he ends up taking the fight. I think Costa just runs out of energy by the end of the fight.
yeah, that makes sense. Plus, it's something too. I could see him during the fight. They'll probably pull up a statistic on how he's moved up so far and significant strikes landed or total strikes landed. I can
Yeah,
almost guarantee
you get that shot right before a round where it's like, the pan like over the cage.
it.
Significant strikes by round as you're starting the third round, and it's just
Exactly.
lopsided by the second round.
Because yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to
I could
start
see
off
that.
like 15-10, and then the second round it's going to be like 25-15. Then by the at the end of the third round when they're about to give a decision, it'll be like 45-15.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
Yeah, like I can totally see how this is going to go. So if the DJ in me is saying Poirier finish, Strickland decision, cash money, it's a lock.
It's a lock. Parlay it up, son. All right, so UFC 302. We're gonna move on from that now, and an interesting couple of fights that got announced. That for the ABC UFC on ABC 7, it'll be where's that on Abu Dhabi? That's what I thought. So next card in Abu Dhabi, they've added Nick Diaz versus Vicente Luque, as well as Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. Now, when I first saw Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa, I was kind of excited. I thought it'd be an interesting fight. Their styles are, I guess I won't say like similar, just because the way Tony hits versus the way Chiesa hits is a lot different. But I would just say similar as in both very well-rounded fighters that have been in the UFC for a really long time. Both Ultimate Fighter winners. And I think that would be an interesting fight. But since then, I saw this quote from Daniel Cormier. He said, I have excitement because I get to see the guy that I've watched for a long time. Confusion in the terms of who the matchup is. Tony Ferguson's on the card as well. Put them together. That makes more sense to me. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because Nick Diaz versus Tony Ferguson, what? Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing, matchmakers? I'll take Chiesa versus Luque to, get Diaz versus Ferguson.
Yeah, yeah. I'm I'm really confused. Either like now, I will say, just the whole Luke thing, because like I think they're trying to get Nick to strike with somebody, which I mean to an extent I kind of understand, but like I'd rather see him go against somebody who has a more similar uh move set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, more similar and kind of on the same level of their careers at this point. And, because I mean, Tony's obviously got to where he's at this point. And Vicente Luque, I just feel like is kind of I, man, I hate to say
You got
this,
to
but
do it. You got to
yeah,
do it.
he outmatches Nick Diaz at this point in their careers. I mean, it's not necessarily the fight I want to see. I don't want to see Nick Diaz come in and fight a guy that's a fringe contender. I mean, I just
Yeah,
don't think
I
that
get
that's a
exactly what you mean.
yeah. And well, all of us as fight fans. If you're not a Diaz fan and you're a fight fan, I'm confused. We all love the Diaz brothers, right? We want to see Nick Diaz fight. We want to see Nate Diaz fight. But it's like Yair Rodriguez versus BJ Penn or Nick Diaz versus BJ Penn. I mean, you know me, Ray, how big of a BJ Penn fan I am, and like watching that dude go up against Rory McDonald, Yair Rodriguez, Nick Diaz at the time was just like this is not the same level this man is on right now. We should not be letting a legend go out there and get tornado kicked by a 20-something-year-old prospect. Like, what are we doing, guys? It's
Like a,
it's not fun. It's not fun.
it's not fun. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, it's like because I hate to say it, this is kind of like a fan service fight, like or it should have been. Sorry for Nick, it should
Yeah.
have been a fan service fight because he wanted to get out there and put him with guys that's his age that aren't. I don't think contention is really in their plane. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's a fact. And I mean, I will say Vincente Luque is better than what he wanted because I can't. I'm trying to look at where Ariel Hawani reported that he listed off like crazy names, and I'm pretty sure Leon Edwards was like the first one he mentioned. That's who he wanted, and I
Since
just
they look
thought,
at
no, Nick, because Nick's crazy. Yeah, like
man,
they went down
like
a list of like, I want this guy. Okay, no. I want this guy. No, I want this guy. I just remember the last one was Kevin Holland, which I would have been,
oh my god.
that would have been
Nah, like
rough.
they would have had to mic that up though. That's the only thing
Oh,
I
that's a
would have
fact.
demanded. That has to be mic'd up. I don't care what you got to do. That has to be mic'd up because the level of shit talk that will go on in that cage,
That's a fact.
that one that has to be on pay per view, which is so crazy. Why are they putting Nick Diaz on an ABC card?
I do like it for the simple fact of like, trying to grow the sport, which at this point,
That's not a guy you put on an ABC card though.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, dog, you know what I'm talking about? We are talking about the most family friendly network owned by Disney. Fam.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. Okay.
Like, you know what type
Okay.
of F bombs? He gonna be calling, bro, all types of B words. What you got in Medford? Like, fam, that is not Disney. That is not ABC. What are y'all doing?
This is fair. This is absolutely fair. I
That's
think you
all
make
I'm
a good
saying.
point. You make a good
That's
point
all.
here.
You know what I'm saying? If this was
Yeah.
on FX, if it was on Fox, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
We don't have those
Cool.
networks anymore though, right?
I
We
know.
have
I'm
to
just
put
saying
it on
back in the
something
day,
Disney. But yeah, I feel you. I mean,
or ESPN, like I said, or
yeah.
like just save it for a pay per view. Because
Yeah,
yeah, where
no.
you don't have to blank those words out. You can, but you don't have to.
That's
No,
true.
like, bro, I feel bad for the production assistant that is working like censor duty because oh my god, they are in for it.
I'm
Especially if
sorry,
Nick is
Nick, but
like
we can't
real
talk
funny.
like that on ABC.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Like
I'm
that's all
coming
you
for
gonna
you,
hear out of them.
motherfucker.
Okay, bro. Like, yeah, and it's like, damn. And maybe that's ultimately the plan. Maybe they're hoping Nick pulls off the win and kind of starts talking some stuff, and it kind of generates some outrage. Maybe that's what they're going for. That's the
That's
only thing I
fair.
could think of.
Because I mean, the UFC is here for the controversy. I mean, even some of the stuff that Strickland said just over the weekend, and obviously the things that he said over whatever the last 12 months. I mean, which one last thing I did have to get to was what do you think about the new gloves? Because Sean Strickland actually absolutely eviscerated them things on the presser.
I'm sorry. It broke up for a hot second. You said he eviscerated what on the presser?
The new gloves that they're bringing out, which I mean, I don't think that they've actually worn them. I guess this may be the first event. I'm honestly not like very well educated on the gloves, although I just saw the picture of them and they do look kind of silly. They almost look like the old Pride gloves where the
That's what I
fingers
was about
are,
to say.
yeah.
Uh, And it sucks because it kind of feels like it's almost like a what's the word I'm looking for? A real disadvantage for the grapplers because I don't think it's going to grant them as much dexterity as they're used to.
Man, yeah, I don't know.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I'm just looking at them right now and I just think we'll have to see it in action to know. Just because I'm kind of with you, but at the same time, the way that the fingers are and they're just wrapped right around the fingers, I don't know if it'll be that much of a difference from what it was
Hmm.
before, just because there's more room for your fingers to move, if that makes sense. Like the old gloves just kind of came over your knuckles, or like they tried to, and kind of
Hmm.
weren't quite just like wrapped around your fingers like that. So I think
Hmm.
maybe that might help, but it looks like a lot of the padding was moved from up front of the glove to kind of the mid part of the glove, which that part I don't understand, just because I'm not hitting somebody with the bottom of my hand. I'm hitting them with, my fist. Like, I don't really get that. But I think Sean Strickland did have a good point. He was like, they're supposed to stop guys getting poked in the eye. And he simply said, you get poked in the eye because people open their hands. And what's going to happen when you open your hands in these gloves? You're still going to get poked in the eye. I mean, I don't really understand the real thought process, but I guess a lot of guys think that this is going to cause more cuts as well, which obviously less padding on the knuckles may absolutely make that happen.
Less padding on the gloves will cause more cuts or decrease cuts.
Cause more cuts. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that it's
yeah, yeah.
possible, the movement of where that padding was to kind of the middle part. And that's kind of why I thought they looked like Pride gloves, because Pride gloves were kind of like that, where there was a lot of padding kind of in the mid part of the hand.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, only time will tell, like if how well they handle and stuff. And I mean, I don't know. I get it. Cuts are part of the sport. I mean, you could throw elbows in the sport. So what are we really talking about?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Because whenever the whole glove thing comes up, what was my man's name? Not
Trevor
John, but
Whitman.
there we go. Thank you.
Yep.
And it's just like you see a guy who's on the front lines. He's in, you know what I mean? He's
Hmm.
out there every day and he's testing his gloves and he has actual trackable data that could be observed by higher ups and the decision makers in the sport. And they just kind of side-eyed it and was just like, nah, we're going with this.
They want whatever they can control the patent on. That's the problem. Whoever's
Which
gonna,
is just
make them the
crazy,
most money. Nobody else is getting this money. It is crazy. It is.
man. And
Yeah.
it's like cutting your nose to spite your face.
Absolutely, yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we all know how the UFC feels about their fighters, so it's not shocking. They make that very clear. That's just a guy.
That's just a guy. No, that's a fact.
Yeah. Well, Ray, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Especially last second like this, because honestly, until I watched that presser about yesterday afternoon when I was on my way home, I didn't really, think too much of it, and I just kind of Poirier got me excited to talk some MMA. So I was getting ready to head down to record something, hit Ray up, and hey, man, when in need, Ray is there.
Uh, you know how I get down, bro.
Yes, sir. So we'll look forward to seeing you again because we're definitely gonna have to get Ray on with EDJ to talk some Chiefs and Ravens before the season starts. So at some point,
Oh yeah.
just stay tuned because that's gonna be the Lamar Jackson debate 2.0. Shout out to the Showbank show.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate it again. You take it easy.
Oh, you do the same, man.
That is going to just about wrap things up for this episode. Again, if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit that like button, especially on these other episodes where I'm not talking Chiefs. Let me know you enjoy this UFC content as well as the baseball content being put out as well. And again, one more time, I just got to shout out to Ray because my man's answered the call of duty right there because I hit him up literally 10 minutes before I started recording this. And he just jumped right on. So I really appreciate that. And talking some MMA, it's been a minute, obviously, on the channel. Haven't been following MMA, like as close as I have in the past, or would like to probably, but that's life, right? So again, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers before the preseason of the NFL season. So just keep rolling, and I appreciate you for watching. We'll see you next time.